Get a break from that. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. We're glad to have you with us today. My name is Judy Lucarelli, and I'm serving as worship associate today. We're a church of many welcomes, and let me start with a warm welcome to all of you. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in any of our activities. To learn more about our events, our calendar is on the website, uutarpon.org, or we'd be happy to talk with you during the coffee hour. Our children are with us during the beginning of the service. We have faith formation programming available with our gifted leader, Jami Cruz. Children gather for their time together with her after the story. If you'd like more information about our programming, please contact Reverend Kristina or see Jami after the service. For those present with us in the sanctuary, we have connection cards that look like this, available in the pews near your hymnals. If you fill one out and put it in the offering plate or give it to one of our greeters, we will be able to keep in touch with you. There's a front and a back to that little card. There are also small cards to write any joys or sorrows that you would like to share with us if you prefer me reading it at the end of the service instead of you sharing the information yourself. We're also requiring all people, all ages, to mask while indoors here at church. We're delighted to have Reverend Katie with us again today, leading our service. And our music is provided by Bonnie Whitehurst and the choir. Again, welcome.
At this time, our opening hymn is in the teal hymnal, and it's number 1010. We give thanks. And if you feel like you want to just stand up and sing, we invite you to do that. And we'll sing it twice through. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here as far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
So lovely to hear the choir singing this morning. I feel so blessed to be a part of the service. Our opening words in honor of the Jewish High Holy Days are by Reverend Kristen Grashel-Schmidt, one of my awesome colleagues. As Jews within and beyond these walls begin to celebrate Rosh Hashanah tonight, let us all celebrate. Let us marvel. Let us be awe-struck. For the same force that brought our planet into being, the same force that evolved tiny atoms and molecules and DNA into intelligent life, the same power that transforms summer into autumn and autumn into winter, or I needed to edit this a little bit because, we don't have seasons. Our summer into hurricane season, in hurricane season into Florida winter, spring, summer, fall, whatever you want to call it, all jumbled together. That same power is still at work in the universe and in us, always bringing about new seasons, new creations, new possibilities. Breath of life, breathe in us, with us, and through us this day as we gather. One in community, one in commitment to truth, to light, to justice, to love. Open our minds and hearts to the new way that's always being created. Come, my friends, let us celebrate, let us marvel, let us be filled with awe. Come, let us worship together.
We light our chalice with these words by Katie Gelfand. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us. We have some new technology here for lighting the chalice, so bear with me.
And let us now sing together number 1, 2, 3 in the Gray Book, Spirit of Life.
Once upon a time, a greedy rich man hired a great mathematician. The rich man wanted the mathematician to find the best way for him to make the greatest profit in everything he did. The rich man was building a huge safe, and his greatest dream was to fill it with gold and jewels. The mathematician was shut away for months in his study before finally believing he had found the solution. But he soon found that there were some errors in his calculations, and he had to start all over again. One night, he appeared at the rich man's house with a big smile on his face, and he said, "I found it. My calculations are perfect." The rich man was going on a long journey the next day and didn't have time to listen. He promised the mathematician that he would pay him double his wages, twice as much, if he would take charge of the business while he was away and put the new formulas into practice. Excited by his new discovery, the mathematician was delighted to accept. When the rich man returned months later, he found that all of his possessions, all of his stuff, was gone. Furious, he went to ask for an explanation from the mathematician, and the mathematician calmly told him what he had done. He had given everything away to the people. The rich man couldn't believe it, but the mathematician explained further. For months, I analyzed how a rich man could gain the maximum benefit, but what I could do was always so limited. There's a limit to how much one man can do by himself. Then I understood the key was that many people could help us achieve that aim. So the conclusion was that helping others was the best way to get more and more people to benefit us. Disappointed and furious, the greedy man stormed off, desperate at having lost everything to the harebrained scheme of this mathematician. However, while he was walking away, very sad, several neighbors ran up to him worried. All of them had been helped when the mathematician shared the riches with them. They felt so grateful to him that they decided to offer him a hospitality of staying in their homes, and they gave him anything that such a special man would need. The neighbors even argued about who was going to help the man the most. Over the next few days, he saw the full results of what the mathematician had calculated. Wherever he went, he was received with great honor, and everyone was willing to help him in whatever way they could. He realized that his not having anything had given him much, much more. In this way, he managed to quickly set up flourishing businesses, but this time he allowed the brilliant mathematician's advice. He followed it, and no longer did he keep his riches in a safe or anything like it. Instead, what he did is he shared his fortune among hundreds and hundreds of friends whose hearts he had converted into the safest, most grateful, and fruitful of safes. And that is our story this morning. I believe our children and youth will be now going to their religious education classes. So excited about that.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace, go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. You may go.
Now is the time in the service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. Ours is a free faith which must sustain itself financially. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the Donate button, or mail your offering to the church at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida 34689. For those of you with us in person in the sanctuary, place your offering in the offering plates as they are passed.
Are we a people of holding on, or are we a people of letting go? Holding on to the rigid ideas, or letting go and opening our minds and our hearts to something new? Holding on to certainty of how things should be, or letting go and living with the uncertainty of new ways of being in the world? Holding on to what makes us comfortable, or letting go so we may grow, which may be uncomfortable. Holding on to what makes us safe, or letting go to make room so others can feel safe. I invite you to look into the flame of our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Let it be a symbol of burning up the ties that hold us back from being our true self and reaching our true potential. Let it be a symbol of lighting a new way for us into a better tomorrow. And let it be a symbol of letting go, because holding on too tight and too long is never good for the soul.
You've been so kind and generous. We don't know how you keep on giving. For your kindness, we are in debt to you. For your selflessness, our admiration. For everything you've done, you know we're bound. We're bound to thank you for it. Na 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 na. You've been so kind and generous. We don't know how you keep on giving. For your kindness, we are in debt to you. And we never could have come this far without you. For everything you've done, you know we're bound. We're bound to thank you for it. Na 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 na. Oh, we want to thank you for so many gifts you gave with love, with tenderness. We want to thank you. We want to thank you for your generosity, your love and honesty that you gave us. We want to thank you for with our gratitude, our love and our respect for you. We want to thank you, 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 thank you.
A Jewish rabbi, a Buddhist monk, and a Unitarian Universalist minister were having lunch together when the rabbi asked, "Before we eat, I want you to tell me 3 words, just 3 words, that you want spoken at your funeral." The Buddhist monk meditated for a minute, and then said, I know. I want them to say, he walked peace. Oh, that's lovely. He walked peace. The rabbi and the UU minister appreciatively repeated. Then it was the rabbi's turn. And after a moment's thought, she said, I want to hear, she served justice. Oh, that's beautiful. She served justice. The UU and the Buddhist appreciatively repeated. Then the rabbi turned to the UU minister and said, so, what 3 words do you want to hear at your funeral? And the UU minister, without hesitation, said, look, he's moving. I love that joke, especially because it points out that most Unitarian Universalists aren't very enthusiastic about waiting for the assurance of eternal life. We'd rather take our chances here, right now, in this wonderful life. But actually, all joking aside, there are 3 words that I do hope are spoken at my memorial service. I hope that when I'm gone, people will remember me by saying simply these 3 words, she was generous. She was generous might be just about the nicest thing that you can say about another human being. French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir thinks true generosity takes place when you give your all, and yet you feel as though you have given nothing. It costs you nothing, because the well doesn't run dry. Generosity arises from a sense of personal abundance and a sense of connectedness to the whole. Each of us has so much: a body to live in, senses to experience the world, loving hearts, not to mention access to fresh water, to a wide variety of food year-round, public transit, some of it good, some of it not so good. Florida could do a little bit better with that. To electric lights, flush toilets. The list of things goes on and on and on that we have if we sit down and truly think about how fortunate that we are and the gifts that we have been given. There is a connection between generosity and generative. The common root gen, which refers to birth or becoming, suggests that generosity causes something new to be produced, either a connection between people or between people and an organization. Yet for most of us, generosity is kind of a giving up of something we have. So like, if I have money, I can give my money to someone else. If I have time, I can volunteer to help someone. This sense of generosity as giving up somewhat limits us, though, in our thinking. Perhaps it causes either a sense of scarcity or a sense of entitlement. Generosity is a spiritual practice. It is a practice that allows us to free ourselves from that which holds us back. That which holds us back from which tries to protect our heart. We try to protect our heart, but it ends up disconnecting us from one another. This move towards freedom, towards connection, towards spaciousness in our lives is a powerful tool in our spiritual toolbox. The Buddha is said that he begins instructing his students by teaching first about generosity. The Buddha would teach that we all have something to give. Each and every one of us has something to give. Materially, sure, money, but also paying attention to someone, listening to someone deeply, smiling, touching, thanking them. These are all displays of generosity of spirit. The Jewish tradition, with its tremendous respect for all we have inherited from previous generations, reminds us that we often find ourselves living in houses that we did not build, drinking from wells which we did not dig, and eating from trees which we did not plant. In that spirit, I invite you to take a few moments now and recall A time when someone offered you a tremendous generosity. A time when someone was tremendously generous to you. It could have been a gift of time, or intelligence, or money, or caring, or simply presence. So just think about a time that someone was very generous with you. Remember who that person was and what they gave you with as much detail as you can. Remember how you experienced that event and how it affected you afterward. From family and friends to teachers and camp counselors to even random strangers, most of us have benefited from generosity. Sometimes we have the opportunity to pay these generous folks back in kind. More often, though, our invitation is to pay it forward. Pay it forward to others, to both literally and metaphorically build houses in which others will live, dig wells from which others will drink, and plant trees from which others will eat. Likewise, I invite you to think of a time or times when you made a memorable gift or a donation to an organization about which you feel passionate. Again, in addition to money, what comes to mind is a generosity of time, intelligence, caring, or presence. There are very complex personal experiences and social histories about the ways we think and behave about money. And too often, messages around money are guilt or fear-based. But the invitation to walk the generosity path is to increasingly approach money from a place of inner freedom and abundance. From the Buddhist tradition, Lama Sura Das writes that giving brings happiness at every stage of its expression. We experience joy in forming the intention to be generous. We experience joy in the actual act of being generous and giving to someone. And we experience joy in remembering the fact that we have given. From the Christian tradition, Henry Nouwen writes, every time I take a step in the direction towards generosity, I know that I am moving from fear to love. When you take that step towards generosity, you're moving from fear to love. Or from modern science, research from the University of British Columbia and Harvard Business School shows that spending money on someone else, even if it's just $5, even if it's just as little as $5, can significantly boost your happiness. Students who practiced random acts of kindness were significantly happier than those who did not, who were not given this task. In another study, college students were given money and directed to either spend it on themselves, they had a choice, they could spend it on themselves, or spend it pro-socially, so on activities that benefit other people. Participants who spent it pro-socially were happier at the end of the day than those who spent it on themselves. From a Unitarian Universalist perspective, one can attribute these findings to the fact that whereas scarcity thinking leaves us isolated and alone, generosity makes us more aware in a positive way of how we truly are interconnected, how we are connected as a whole. And when we think of some of the most generous givers in history, one word comes to mind: philanthropy. Philanthropy, from the Greek word lover of humanity. That etymology is at the core of what many religious progressives aspire to. As Unitarian Universalists, we sometimes speak of ourselves as theologically liberal. We are a theologically liberal religion in the best sense of the word liberal, which is open to new ideas, generous, open-hearted, open-handed, open-minded. Accordingly, the UU 7 principles include tremendously high aspirations of philanthropy, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every person, seeking to create justice, equity, and compassion in our lives, and the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And one of the first steps we can take to build the world that we dream about is a personal commitment to take that next step, whatever that looks like for us individually or collectively, on a path towards greater generosity. Earlier, I invited you to consider times when someone offered you tremendous generosity, as well as a time when you made a memorable gift or a donation to an organization in which you feel passionate. Looking to the future, I wonder, what are you passionate about right now in this season of your life? Think about it. What are you most passionate about right now? What gifts of time or intelligence, caring, or simply presence do you have to share? Instead of paying someone back for generosity in the past, what might you be called to pay forward to someone else today? Many organizations that work for social change, I think, make a mistake. We call ourselves nonprofit organizations. We need to start seeing ourselves as social profit organizations. I invite you to invest your time and your money and your energy into progressive religious communities because we bring social profit. That is what we are doing to communities as we build a better world based on connection and compassion and diversity and justice. And we have the potential to do so much more beyond the significant work that we are already doing. Along these lines, related to the various communities in which you are involved, I invite you to consider your responses to what Peter Block calls powerful questions. What gifts of time, intelligence, money, caring, or presence do I hold that I'm willing to bring to this community? What is the commitment that I bring to this community? How valuable do I want my involvement to be? How valuable an experience do I plan my involvement to be? Our generosity, no matter how we practice it, will bring forth connection to each other. We will be connected to one another and the world in which we live. With all that we are given, with all of the abundance, we can pass it on through generosity. Generosity is about letting go. Letting others' needs take precedence. Letting go of our time, letting go of our talents and our treasures to share them with others. Letting go and trusting that there is enough to let go. We can be conduits for passing the good on. Being generous does not require great wealth. It depends on that sense of personal abundance and a desire to share that abundance with others. Anyone can be generous who has a generous heart. Anyone can be generous with a generous heart. I invite you to ponder this Nigerian proverb. It is the heart that gives, and it is the fingers that let go. It's the heart that gives, and it is the hands that let go. It is the heart. If you see your life as abundant, it is abundant. If you think of yourself as a generous person, you become a generous person. The story we tell about ourselves shapes our lives. Generosity is a powerful life force, and it is very complex. Some of us didn't grow up in generous households. We all came, and we know that who we are today has a lot to do with how we were raised as a child. And so your thinking about money and generosity has a lot to do with how you were raised. So some of us were not in generous households. We were told that the world was full of scarcity and we had to fight for everything that was ours. Some of us were taught to hold on tight and save it for the future because the future is unknown. Some of us were told to be generous to one kind of person, but not generous to another kind of person. Some of us were taught to give and give without thought of yourself, to be completely selfless, to sacrifice to everyone else. Our stories of generosity are complicated. You may want to spend some time this week thinking about what you were taught growing up about generosity from your family of origin and how those views affect you today. As Unitarian Universalists, our theology says generosity arises from gratitude and abundance. Think of your life as a market stall, okay? So we're in a market, and we have these baskets, and our resources are what we fill our baskets with. Some baskets are filled to overflowing, and some baskets are completely empty. So you have baskets in the back as well. So your knitting skills and your cooking skills overflow baskets, some of us. While your tech skill basket might empty every time your computer screen freezes. That might not be your thing, to have the tech skills. Each person's market stall will have a different selection of baskets. Some of us have lots of time to give. Others, very little time. I know as a busy mom, very little time to give. Others might have some more time. Some have lots of stuff to share. Others have skills to offer. Know your market stall, what you have in abundance, and what needs to be refreshed. So give from your abundance. If you don't have much time, don't sign up to organize the pledge campaign. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It takes a little bit more time. Put that empty basket under the table and offer up something else. There are many ways to volunteer here in this congregation. I know that because there are many ways to volunteer in every congregation. There's always opportunities, from greeting on Sunday morning to hospitality. Thankfully, that's come back, right? Coffee hours coming back a little bit more. So there's always like cleanup and setup and that type of thing. And of course, and this is a whole sermon, religious education. I was a director of religious education for many years, and I had to do the recruitment for volunteers, which was never my most loved part of the job, because everybody's busy, and I get that. But our religious education courses are one of the most important ministries of our faith, is faith development for our children. So reach out to Kristina. Is it Julie? Okay. Reach out to her and see if perhaps you can help with the religious education program. Like I said, big supporter of RE. And it's a big job. It's so important. There's so many needs in our congregation, and we learn to freely give from our abundance. Gift culture. I like to call it gift culture, or a culture of reciprocity. We give what we have, and we ask for what we need. Sometimes you have nothing left to give. I totally get that. And you just have to hunker down. Hunker down. That's fine. We're going to be hunkering down probably pretty soon. And care for yourself. I wrote that before I knew that the hurricane was coming. Y'all know about the hunker down, right? I'm sure it's on a lot of our minds. And we need to give freely from the abundance of our lives. So I have a story. When I have two sons, a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. And when my oldest child was in Cub Scouts, he was about 8, I think, when he started, maybe he was 7, I would go to the Methodist church where the Cub Scout meeting was and literally just sit. I'd let someone else deal with him, his Cub Scout leader, and then I would pick him up and we'd go home. And I did not participate in the pack. And then he became a Boy Scout, and he started being involved in that. And I would drive him, I would drop him off, and then I would pick him up at the end of the Boy Scout meeting. I needed to do that at the time. I needed space for myself. But now I was exhausted. I was an exhausted mother of 2 children and one of them who was special needs. And I was working, I was attending seminary. I had a lot of stuff going on, just trying to keep my head above the water. But now he's 17, as I mentioned, and he is going to be an Eagle Scout. Next year, he's going to start working on his Eagle Scout project. The Scout law states that a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. He's not all of these things all the time. He is a teenager after all. But because of the Boy Scouts, my son embodies these principles. He has learned leadership. He has grown so much because of this organization. So, I am now Troop 57 committee chair because I knew I needed to give back to this troop that had given me so much, that had helped my son so much. I'm not the greatest committee chair. I could hold more meetings. I could have a better agenda. I do my best. But that's the thing. We give what we can to organizations that are important to us. And this organization made such an impact on his life, and he will make an impact on the world because of what he's learning with Troop 57. Often, our congregations sing the short hymn, "From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live." This is UU theology. This is the truth of the interdependent web of life. Reciprocity, gift culture. Together we share, and by this we live. Unitarian Universalism is foundationally a culture of generosity. We come together in belief that life is better together. Life is better together by sharing all that we are and being together in community. We create a community that cares, a community that helps heal the world, one kind word, one kind act at a time. Each of you creates this community. Each of you is a gift to this community. There's a saying that love is like bread, that it must be made new every day. And I believe that is true. I think it's true of community as well. It has to be made new, made fresh daily. And it's made new every Sunday that we gather here in this sanctuary and at home on Zoom as part of our community. You give your gift of presence by coming to church, just by being here. The gift of your voice as you share your wisdom, the gift of talent that you offer your skills, whether it is gardening or music or accounting, and the gift of money, which, let's be real, is necessary in order to keep this congregation thriving and able to do the important work of changing lives. According to Reverend Burton Carley, the purpose of our church is not to give you, as some churches promise, the formula or secret to receive generosity you believe that you deserve from on high, but to create generous lives. That's the point of us being together. It's not for our reward, it's to create generous lives in us so we can build the beloved community. The adventure of faith is not for us to have this strategic plan for obtaining blessings for ourselves, but how to live in a life that blesses others. Think of all the people hours that go into caring for the church property, tending to the finances, governing this community, welcoming new people in, running social groups, maintaining the website and social media, reaching out to those in need of pastoral care, engaging in justice work. Think of all the hours that have gone into this beloved community. We are built on generosity, built on generosity, built on generosity, built on generosity all the way down. Aren't we the lucky ones to have such abundance, such richness in our lives, to have each other taking care of one another? In closing, I ask you to reflect on how each one of us contributes to the building of this beloved community. My congregation is composed of people like me. I help make it what it is. If I am friendly, people will be friendly. It will be kind, forgiving, and welcoming if I am kind, forgiving, and welcoming. Its seats will be filled if I help fill them. It will do great work if I work. It will make generous gifts to many causes if I am a generous giver. It will bring others into its worship if I invite them and I bring them with me. It will be a congregation of loyalty and love, of fearlessness and faith, of compassion, clarity, and mercy. If I make it what it is, and filled with these things. Therefore, I dedicate myself to the task of being all things that I want in my spiritual home. May we each continue on the path toward ever greater generosity of heart, generosity of mind, generosity of wealth, and generosity of spirit. May it be so.
Our closing hymn today is hymn number 331 in the Gray Book, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. And if you feel like you want to stand and sing, that would be just fine, like in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
Life is the greatest gift of all the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thoughts no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, it quests, surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it changes the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
I'm unmuting myself. Am I muted? Because I always try to make sure to mute myself before I sing because y'all don't want to hear me sing. Trust me. Our closing words. In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we know, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love. Go in peace.
And our final song is also a nod to the High Holy Days. The choir will now sing Shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom to you. May peace be with you, my friend, my friend. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
We hope that you have found meaning in today's service. We close with these words by Samuel A. Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity, find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. At least the extinguishing is